How's it, Godzilla fans, Kaiju fans, collectors, and just general people of YouTube? This is Chanzilla1964 coming back to you with another figure review. But this time we're not reviewing one figure, not two figures, but instead we're reviewing 6 figures because we'll be reviewing the, as you can see in front of you guys, the Gamera Memorial box set. Starting off with the box set, we have the box itself here, which is really nice because you got the original Gamera poster as well as the other 6 posters for the Gamera films. Gamera vs. Baragun, Gamera vs. Gauss, Virus, Gueron, Jager, Zigra, and you got pictures of all of the faces of the figures as well, which is really funny. You got Gamera on the bottom there because that was his movie. But you know what, without further ado, let's get these reviews started, because speaking of Gamera, he's the first one up for the review. And starting off with detail, Gamera's detail is really good, from his turtle wrinkles that go pretty much where there's no shell, so his neck, his arms, his legs over here, and his tail. The wrinkle pattern that Bandai translated onto the Gamera figure for the show Gamera figures are really good, really nice. And then you have his detailed hands over here, which are detailed really nicely, even with the kind of wrinkles at the end of the fingers here, which are really cool. Inside of his hands, and then top of Gamera's turtle feet over here too. Got a little bit of texturing going on there. The bottom of the feet got the similar wrinkles at the end of the top of the fingers, and then you got some legal stuff on the bottom over here. And then before we get to the shell, Gamera's titular, what I like to call it, the waffle bot, because I mean it kind of looks like a waffle pattern, or I guess backwards waffle. But anyways, the bottom of Gamera's shell looks really nice too, with the checkered board pattern and the texturing. And then you also have this nice ridge, which indicates the end of the shell, so pretty much where the legs and the arms would come out of. So yeah, that looks really nice. And then now on the Gamera shell, we have this titular leaf or dragon scale pattern shell, which was iconic of the show Gamera, for me anyways, which turned out really nice, and it still has this similar texturing detail that we find over here, or not exactly similar, but either way we have some texturing on this guy, on this guy's shell, which is really nice. So yeah. And then getting on the Gamera's face over here, his face turned out really nice. To me, I prefer this one if for a I guess the friendly Gamera, or the Gamera friend of all children, because this Gamera is actually supposed to be the Gamera in this picture over here, which I mean I don't see it, because I have the other Bandai, the single release Gamera, and this Gamera looks more like that Gamera, huh? Whereas this one looks more like the goofy Gamera, who I guess, you know, is a little goofy when he fights some of the monsters in his later shows. But you know, I mean, that's totally fine, because having the two on hand and kind of seeing them both, which by the way, they're pretty much the same sculpt. This one may be a bit taller, although that may also be because this one is a little older. I've had this one longer, so the wear and tear, even though I don't think it makes any figures shorter. But yeah, this one is a little taller than this one. And this guy looks friendlier in general. So if you're gonna have a box set where you're gonna have Gamera and all of his foes from a series, I'm glad they went with this guy. Even though this doesn't have to do with detail, this has to do with the paint job for this guy and the paint job for the eye. So we're gonna paint job the paint job for Gamera is very nice with the white highlights over here on the outside of his legs and his arms and the top of his shell. And then he's, I guess, he has this blue vinyl, this kind of dark blue vinyl for him, rather than his usual green color, which actually turned out really, really nice, and I really like the color that they chose for him. So yeah. And then the inside of the mouth is really well painted with the teeth individually painted, and the inside of the mouth with colored with this really nice red color. And then Gamera's tusks are painted very nicely, even though we're missing a bit of paint on the back here, but that's totally fine. Nothing, it's much better job than what Bandai's been pulling off lately, I guess. Yeah. And then, like I said, the paint job for the eyes, I think Bandai really knocked out of the park with this one in kind of giving him a more friendly look. And then moving to articulation for this guy, his arms move, his legs move, and his tail moves 360. And his head gets a little bit of rotation, but I really don't think you're supposed to move this, so we'll just leave it at that. And yeah, that's that for Gamera. So we'll just put him on the side over here. And we'll bring up the next guy, which is going to be easily for me one of the more lackluster figures, or one of the, I guess, yeah, one of the more lackluster figures of the set, which is the Bandai Baragun, which is kind of sad because, I mean, it's one of the only figures we have of Baragun, I believe, in this kind of 6-inch scale form. And for me, it's not exactly the paint job that kills this figure, because going to detail, if it's anything that kills this figure for me, it would be the sculpt for him, because I don't remember Baragun's head being so, I guess, fat. Yeah. I always thought it was more slender, if anything. Because he looks like one of those old dinosaur toys where, you know, the mouth is all hollow, but it's also really big. And, you know, you could just kind of stick stuff inside of it and it would fit. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad figure. It's just the head is a little wonky. And the paint job for the eye doesn't help with it. So, yeah. But, I mean, aside from that, though, detail on this guy is really great, from the scale work all over the body to the bumps on his skin for the arms and the bottom side. And then you even have this really nice scaling texturing going down the side of the tail over here, which is really nice. Not to mention Baragun's tail spikes that kind of remind me of Angurus's tail spikes. Not to mention all the spikes all over his body, from the spikes on his heels, his elbows, sides of his body. Gamera really knocked out of the park with the spikes over here. And then his 2 horns in the front turn out really, really good. The teeth are really cool that they're individually sculpted, and it's really, and one definite thing to add is that they sculpted in Baragun's tongue. His infamous tongue, which could shoot ice beams and then punch stuff in the movie, which is really, really fun. And then you got the underside of Baragun's belly over here, which turned out really nice. Even though I'm not sure why it didn't keep going to the tail, but that's a small nitpick because I think this figure turned out really, really nice. And you even got some bumps on the belly too, which didn't notice until now. That's cool. But moving on to paint job. Baragun's paint job is a little weird for me too, because I always thought it was brown. So to see him in this gold thing, like, it's a really nice paint job. It's just different. It's more stylized than I'm used to. But besides that, it's turned out really nice because the base body is, I believe, this kind of is a yellow color, like the bottom over here. But then when you get to the top, it's highlighted with this really nice light gold color, and then on the sides and the arms, it's highlighted with this bronze color, which I think the bronze color would have fit with the figure as the base color, if you ask me. And then the eyes are painted really nicely with this gold, even though it's weird that they chose gold instead of white with the black pupil. And then sadly the inside of the mouth for this guy's not painted, but that's okay. And yeah, the toenails are painted very nicely though, and so is the teeth. And then moving on articulation for Baragun over here, his arms move all the way around, although be careful because they scuff up against his spike over here. Same thing for this side. And then his legs also move 360. There's no hindrances with his legs, thankfully. And then no articulation at the head because the head is connected to the body, but there is tail articulation. So yeah, like I said, not a bad figure. It's just head's a little wonky, but besides that, Baragun is a really, really, really cool figure. Put him to the side over here too. And now moving on to, I think up next would be Gauss, if we're going in order of the movies. Oh, let me put Gauss down here. Speaking of movies, what's really cool about this box set is for the tags, instead of getting the monsters themselves, we get the monsters, yeah, but we also get them in movie poster form. Yeah, that's right, the tags are the movie posters for each film. So this poster will go to Gamera, and then you got Gamera in the back here. Let's see if we can focus. Yeah, there we go. And then the next tag we have Baragun. So yeah, we'd have the Baragun poster here. And we got Baragun's face on the other side, really neat. The next one up is Gauss. So the Gamera versus Gauss poster. Picture of Gauss in the back. Then if I'm getting it correct, it's Virus next. There he is. Then Guiron. Gamera versus Guiron poster with old knife head on the back here. That's what I was knowing him as knife head. Which, I mean, now we got an actual knife head with Pacific Rim, but that's besides the point. Because we have the Gamera versus Jager poster. Jager on the back as well. And last but not least, Gamera versus Zigra. So, I mean, yeah, this was a really cool concept with the Memorial Box cards that Gamera did. And I appreciate this kind of, I guess, tag work more so than the Memorial Box, than the Godzilla 50th Memorial Box cards that we got. Even though I'm glad they didn't take those figures. They instead put cards, which I think they should have done with this set too. But, I mean, that's all besides the point because what Bandai did with this box set is still really, really cool, especially with these cards. So, yeah. Hopefully they do this in the near future, or sometime in the future again, if they ever come out with any more Memorial Box sets for either Godzilla or Gamma or even Ultraman, I guess, if they do go that route. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next figure review, which would be Gauss. Detail for old Gauss here. It looks like Gauss. I don't know what to say. Because I've always wanted to show a figure of Gauss, and when I got this in hand, I was really in awe of how the figure looked and how it is, because it's just, I finally have one and it's really, really good. Like, yeah, from the kind of arrowhead head over here, top of the head for Gauss, to Gauss's face, which for me, the face of Gauss always kind of gave off this, I don't really give a, well, you know, I don't really give a damn look to him, or he's always just tired of Gamera's shit, which was always kind of funny to me. But definitely his head is one thing that I found cool, and they nailed that. And then even the edge for the ear over here, and the inside of Gauss's mouth is really nicely detailed. Only thing that they're missing would be the tongue, which is a-okay. An interesting detail for me that I didn't notice was that Gauss has nose. Yeah, Gauss has a nose. I didn't know he had two nostrils at the very tip of his thing. I thought it was just a point. That's it. So that's really, really cool to find out. And then the ridge patterns with all the texturing for his chest. And then the ribbed or the wings, Gauss's wings turn out really nice with this kind of upward jutting point over here, which I never noticed, but it was really, really cool. And then inside of Gauss's hands are really, really good too. And then this kind of pattern also continues on the Gauss's leg, even though the ridges stop, but the muscle folds begin here, and they turn out really, really nice. And then you got Gauss's feet, turn out really, really good with his kind of bat-like feet over here. But then you got Gauss's tail, which to me, I always thought Gauss was related to Mechagodzilla, because the original Mechagodzilla had this kind of similar tail, although from this, now I guess seeing the actual tail, it's very different, where it's kind of like this big jet wing, yeah, or tail wing, I forget what it's called, for the jet. But yeah, the tail is detailed very nicely with the muscles over here, and then his little wing, third wing on the tail. And then the back of Gauss, it's just kind of like this plate, I guess, which I don't mind because I never did see the back of the suit, but I think that Bandai did a really good job with this detail as well, even though it's pretty much the same texture all around the body. Yeah, but it's just cool how Bandai was able to differentiate it for the legs, the tail, the chest, and the back plate over here, even the top of the head. But yeah, detail for this guy, I think Bandai knocked out of the park. Now on the paint job, it's a bit weird because the body is this really nice blue color, even though personally, if I were to go with the color with the body, I would have gone with the color that they used for Gauss's legs and his wings, because I think this is a good color of representation for Gauss, because if they had this color for him, like his whole body, and then the silver highlights that he has on his head, and his really nicely painted teeth and mouth, and his eye, and the silver color on the back and the tail fin, I think this would have been a very superior Gauss figure, because the paint job is great. It's just, it's interesting that Bandai decided to go with two different colors for the wings, the legs, versus the body. But yeah, also the fingers are painted too, which is like, yeah. But it's just very interesting to me that they decided to go this route, which I don't mind, because like I said, it's still a really great figure and the paint job is still really good. It's just a little weird. Even though I think that's something I'm going to be using quite a bit with this box set, that it's a bit wonky. It doesn't hurt the figure though, because I think this figure is still a really great Gauss representation. But moving on to articulation, Gauss's legs go back and forth, and his top of his head, same thing with Gamera, it swivels a little bit but doesn't quite move too much, I wouldn't force it, and the wings are glued in place. So yeah, not much articulation for Gauss, but I don't really think it needs it. Moving on to the next figure, we have Virus. Moving on to the next figure, we have Virus over here, which is, I always called the very sad penguin squid, because it looks like it got a penguin beak and a penguin face, and it's just a giant squid. I mean, there's nothing really more to him. But the detail is very nice, don't get me wrong, for Virus. I think it captures him very nicely from how it was in the movie. From the beak over here, they even added the little nostrils for him, and they turn out very nice. And to his menacing eyes, and then this texture over here kind of goes all throughout the body, similar to Gauss. Down Virus's legs, which, cool thing about the legs is the tips are suction cupped, which is really, really cool. And then the tips also have the hole where the blade or the spike comes out of, where Virus I guess I forget if he's the one that stabs Gamera with something, or if it was Jager, but I know that this does something. I forget what. It's been a while. I have not watched the Gamera movies. Um, but then you all got the same things at his feet's over here. Sadly, his feet's don't have suction cup, but it's okay. And yeah, detail for this guy is really really good. Paint job for Virus, I'd say has to be, besides Zigra and Jager, would have to be one of the more most movie accurate paint jobs, because from the red eyes to the beak, and then the silver blue, because the base for this figure is blue, but they did the silver highlights, which makes it pop, and it really makes like it's possibly one of the better, more accurate paint jobs for the box set, is what I'm trying to say. Because this is pretty much how I remember Virus looking in the movie. And yeah, paint job is great. And as you see me fiddling with the articulation, let's move on to articulation, because there's only two. The arms move, head doesn't move, and that's it. So yeah. But now I think we're done with little Squidward over here, so we can put him on the side and move on to Guiron, the angry knife head monster. So with Guiron over here, again, detail gets knocked out of the park for this guy, for the texturing on the knife, which goes throughout the body. But the cool thing about Guiron, where I think he's the most technical when it comes down to detail, because he has the scales under the eyes, which are very nice. And then you have the ninja star for his head, and his eyeball with his double eyelid over here, and then these circles on the bottom of his hands. The belly turned out really really nice. The inside of his mouth is detailed very nicely, with the upper part of the mouth being very nicely detailed, and his teeth being individually sculpted on the bottom over here. And then not to mention the back of Guiron. These are all raised. They're not just painted on, they're actually molded into the figure, with his spikes and his furry stuff, or his I guess, yeah, fins on the back of his legs. Turn out really good. So yeah, this is definitely one of more technically inclined detailed figures, because he's just such a complicatedly detailed monster. Can't find the right word there. But yeah, detail for this guy is really really good. And then moving on to Guiron's paint job. His paint job is really nice as well. Only thing that's missing would be the paint on the ninja stars over here. And then actually that's about it. He's just missing a paint on the ninja stars, and then this would have been a most accurately painted figure, even beating out Virus. Because I really like this brown chain they used on the underside of the belly, and then the inside of the mouth is painted really really well as well. And then not to mention, Bandai took the time to actually paint the individual ridges over here. So it's like, yeah, it's amazing. And not to mention the paint they used for this red paint is kind of like this sparkly, shiny paint, which I really, really like. And it contrasts well with the eye paint over here, which is more of a dull color. Because I think this coincides with this when it comes on the shine of the paint, which really good choice by Bandai for this guy. But yeah. And then moving on to articulation, we have the trend here, where because this guy only has 2 points of articulation too, his two front arms move, head is on the glue seal, which, speaking of the glue seal, I'm a bit upset because the one that I got for this guy, it has, if you notice this kind of thing over here, it's melted glue, or it's hardened glue, which I can't get off for the life of me. So what I'm guessing happened was during production, when Bandai glue sealed his head, some of the glue leaked out and came over here and just kind of hardened, and they just left it, which, I mean, this is a really old box set, but it's just kind of a bummer for me. But it's not a big deal. I just gotta figure out how to get this glue off one day. But yeah, Still a really great figure nonetheless, even with this crew defect. Bandai. Oh yeah. Okay. And then home stretch. Home stretch. I know this is a long video. But the second to the last figure we got is Jager. And Jager over here, again, details knocked out of the park. I don't remember these weird circles on his body. Let me look at his card for the poster. Because, oh, I kind of see it, okay. But I don't remember them so pronounced when I saw clips of his movie. So the detail for this, it's weird, but I feel like this is movie accurate. And then for this, I think this is supposed to be a fin. So I'm hoping it wasn't supposed to be a fin, like Guiron's back legs. Because this is kind of, it seems like this is what Bandai was going for, but not quite. And then all that aside though, this top fin over here, his Spinosaurus fin, turned out really, really nicely detailed. And then his head, I think a lot of the detail went to his head because his head is so very nicely detailed with all the bumps and then the ridges over here. Inside of the mouth is really nicely detailed too. And you're not gonna hear me complain about this guy's mouth because Jager's just got a big head in general. So yeah. And then you got the spikes over here, which turned out really, really nice. His 5 spikes, which I always thought this was a weird monster because of his powers, even more so than Baragun. But yeah, let's see. And then the tail over here is really nicely detailed. Underside of the belly is really nicely detailed too. You got the suction cups on the bottom of his feet. And then there is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to focus on the tail here. Because at the tip of the tail, there's supposed to be a sort of hole where Jager impregnates Gamera by stabbing him with the tip of his tail into Gamera's stomach or his side, and he injects him into Jager into there. That's missing on this figure, even though I don't think it's supposed to be so pronounced, but it would have been nice. It would have been a nice addition. Moving on to paint job for this guy. I don't know what happened with this, because the cell is really nicely painted, the teeth is nicely painted, no paint in the mouth, which is, it's fine. The spikes are nicely painted, so is the eyes, but this brown that they used for the top part of the body, I think Bandai should have really continued using it all the way to the bottom of the feet over here until they got to like the inside, and they could have left this yellow, because it's just weird how it stops, and it just stops right there at the knee and the elbow. Don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah. And then Jager does not have any toenails. Jeez, yeah. Moving on, articulation for this guy, his back legs move, and then his front legs move as well, just not too much because of his giant head, and head moves a little bit, not a lot though, and don't want to force it. And then no tail articulation because the tail's stuck to the body. Yeah, but Jager would be definitely kind of fit under the same margin as Baragun, where detail is a bit wonky and paint job is also a bit wonky, but doesn't hurt the figure still. So yeah. And then we made it last figure of the review, Zigra. So let's just knock these out of the park one by one. The detail for Zigra, detail turned out really nice, from the vest-like detail over here for his chest to his penguin collars, and then the wings or his fins, Zigra's fins, turned out really nice too, with the shark fin, and then it kind of transitions to this kind of fish fin over here, which is really nice. And you got the scales at the top here, the wicked sharp scales. And then Zegra's legs over here turn out really nice too with the same armored plating. And then the back of the legs, which is more the exposed skin with the more traditional fish fins as well. And then Zebra's tail turned out really nice with the plating as well. And a similar fin-like structures as this. Yeah. And the armored plating for the back of Zebra turned out really nice. The spines on Zebra may not be textured, but they do the job. Because they're supposed to be like these wicked sharp spines. And they look like blades to me. So, yeah. Zegra's face, the detail on Zegra's face turned out really good. From the scratches over here in his armor for the head, to the different ridges and wrinkles leading up to Zegra's eye, which is sculpted in. The pupil especially is sculpted in. And then you got Zegra's individually sculpted teeth over here. Whoops, I was blocking there. But yeah, the teeth, and then his little antenna or connection thingy in the middle, right above his mouth. And then yeah, Zegra's little beak is really nicely detailed too. His little Zegra beak, which I'm looking at this Bandai, and you couldn't have done this for Gigan, I'm just saying. But yeah. Then moving on to paint for Zegra. This really nice silver paint is used throughout the body for his torso, to the legs, to the fin areas over here, to his head. Even though the base color is actually this really nice baby blue. I guess wouldn't be the right word for it, but really nice light blue color is the base color with the silver highlights, which is all Zegra needs besides his red for the antenna thing and then the eyeball. But yeah, this is a really nice paint. Really, this figure has really nice paint details with the highlights, which I think Bandai did a really good job on them. Yeah. And then for articulation, this guy don't got much articulation. Wings move a little bit. Head doesn't move because it's glue sealed. Legs don't move. Only thing that really moves a lot, it would be his tail, which, yeah, that's it. But yeah, still, this is, yeah, but even still, Zegra's still probably one of my favorite figures from the set besides Gauss. Just because I always thought it was cool. He was a cool villain. He was like this weird shark torpedo stabby thing, pokey thing. But yeah. But yeah, Zegra, I always thought it was cool because it was just kind of like this really metal shark. Not metal in the sense that we're like actual metal, it's like, you know, like heavy metal, rock metal, badass shark thing. But yeah. And then overall, well, we don't need to do size comparison because size comparison is right here. And I think they all size up really nice with each other. And then what I recommend that you guys get this set, I would definitely recommend you guys get this if you guys are able to find it for the right price. What I paid for mine was about $150, which to me was a really good deal. Because I ended up getting 6 figures for 150 bucks. And with today's, I guess, aftermarket for these figures, to me, yeah, like I said, really good deal. But even though some figures may be lacking in paint or just have really weird detail, overall for this box set, I'd say this is definitely one of the up there with the Godzilla Memorial box set. Even though granted, this has less figures, which is why also it cost less, thankfully. And honestly, I'm really glad I picked this up because I don't have many Gamera figures, even though Gamera in general doesn't really have many vinyl figures of them, of him or his enemies. So I'm really glad that I was able to pick up this box and kind of just knock out all the Showa Gamera figures in one fell swoop by picking them up. Which is great. So yeah. Now we're just waiting on Bandai to finish the Heisei Gamera figures. We're waiting on Zedus Bandai, as well as the Avent Gamera. But yeah. But with that being said, I know this has been a long review. I'm gonna cut it off here, guys. So just remember, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button down below. And then if I missed anything, or if you guys want to leave a comment, be sure to leave a comment down below as well, because it helps with the whole YouTube algorithm stuff and just, yeah. And then if you like what you see on the channel, be sure to subscribe. And the next video to come out, which is, by the way, it's just gonna be a heads up. The next video to come out for this is probably gonna be the review for the brand spanking new the Maijin figure from the Bandai Movie Monster series. It's either going to be him or the new Bandai Movie Monster series Batra, which I also got, or the new Bandai Movie Monster series Megagears. But I mean, seeing as I did just review Gamera, which is a Dai company, and also Daimajin is a Dai company film, I may as well review him next. So yeah, stay tuned for this guy, and until next time, everyone, peace.